What if I told you that the very pain you're trying to escape might be the doorway to the strongest, most unshakable version of yourself, and that running from it is the surest way to let it destroy you? When you are confronted with stress and tragedy, the instinct to turn away is powerful. It's almost automatic. You feel the urge to distract yourself, to shut the door, to look somewhere else, as if pretending the problem doesn't exist will somehow make it vanish. But the truth is, avoidance doesn't protect you. It feeds the very thing you are afraid of. Problems left unattended don't just stay still, they grow. They multiply in the shadows, quietly, until one day they are too large to ignore. And by that point, you are weaker, less prepared, and more overwhelmed than you would have been had you confronted them at the beginning. Facing reality voluntarily is an act of courage, but it is also an act of necessity. Life is hard enough without adding the chaos that comes from neglect. To face reality voluntarily is to acknowledge the weight of the situation without flinching. It means opening your eyes fully, seeing the problem for what it is, no matter how painful that view might be. There is something deeply strengthening in doing this. When you willingly look at what terrifies you, it loses part of its power over you. The fear you carry is often inflated by the unknown. By looking directly at it, you replace vague anxiety with concrete understanding. And when you understand the true nature of the challenge, you can begin to strategize, to take action, to make progress, no matter how small. This is how people transform from victims of circumstance into active participants in their own recovery. Of course, facing reality does not mean pretending that everything is fine or that you are unaffected. It's not about blind optimism. It's about standing firmly in the truth, even if the truth is painful. This is why it's voluntary. You must choose to do it, because no one can force you to open your eyes. You could spend your entire life avoiding what hurts you, but every time you choose avoidance over confrontation, you give away a piece of your strength. That strength could have been used to rebuild your life, to repair relationships, to solve problems, but instead it gets drained by the constant effort to keep reality at bay. There is a strange paradox here. When you stop running from what you fear, you actually begin to feel less afraid. The unknown is more terrifying than the known. Once you take a hard look, you realize that while the challenge is real, it is also something you can influence. Maybe you can't erase the tragedy, maybe you can't undo the loss, but you can take steps forward. Each step you take strengthens your resolve and proves to you that you are not powerless. That proof is crucial because it's what keeps you moving when everything in you wants to stop. Facing reality voluntarily is not just the first step toward dealing with stress and tragedy. It is the step that makes all the others possible when life delivers a blow you did not expect. The first sensation is often a loss of control. It feels as though the ground has shifted beneath you, and no matter how much you want to hold things together, the scale of the situation overwhelms your ability to act. In those moments, the temptation is to obsess over everything you cannot influence, to replay events in your mind, to analyze why it happened, or to imagine 100 different scenarios where it could have gone differently. But this is where people often trap themselves. The truth is, no matter how much you think about what you can't change, it will not alter the past. The only path forward is to redirect your attention toward the small circle of things that remain within your power. Even if it's just a fraction of the whole situation, it's enough to start moving again. Taking responsibility for what you can control is not about blaming yourself for everything that has gone wrong. It's about recognizing that you are still an agent in your own life. You might not be able to reverse the tragedy or stop the stress from happening, but you can decide how you respond in the next hour, the next day, the next week. That decision-making power, however limited it feels, is the key to preventing chaos from consuming you entirely. Chaos thrives when you feel helpless. Responsibility pushes it back by giving you a place to stand and act. The scope of what you can control might seem laughably small at first. It could be something as simple as getting out of bed at a certain time, preparing a healthy meal, cleaning a part of your home, or following through on a promise you made to yourself. These actions might feel insignificant when compared to the magnitude of the pain you are experiencing, but their value lies in the order they create. Every small act of responsibility reasserts that you have not surrendered your will to the chaos. That small act, repeated consistently, becomes a foothold. And footholds, over time, turn into stable ground. Responsibility also changes the way you view yourself. When you take action within your sphere of influence, you send yourself a message: I am not entirely at the mercy of my circumstances. That internal message matters because your mind takes cues from your behavior. If you act as though you are powerless, your thinking begins to align with that story. But if you act with responsibility, no matter how modest the act, your mind begins to see you as capable. This shift in identity is what allows you to handle greater challenges over time. Stress and tragedy have a way of scattering your attention, making you feel as though you are being pulled in 100 directions at once. By narrowing your focus to the things you can control, you bring that scattered energy back into a single, deliberate point of action. From that point, you can begin to rebuild, not in a rush, not all at once, but in a steady and deliberate manner that ensures the chaos does not dictate the rest of your story. When life becomes overwhelming, the natural reaction is to look for a solution big enough to make all the pain and disorder disappear at once. But that kind of perfect, sweeping solution rarely exists. Waiting for it only delays the process of recovery. The reality is that most progress begins in small, almost unremarkable steps. Putting your life in order one step at a time means starting exactly where you are, with what is closest to you, and gradually extending that order outward. You begin with the things you can touch, see, and organize. The immediate environment in which you live every day. That might mean cleaning a room, organizing your desk, or following a simple morning routine. These acts are not trivial. They are physical manifestations of taking control, visible reminders that you can create structure in at least one corner of your existence. It is easy to underestimate the psychological power of such small acts. Chaos in your surroundings feeds chaos in your mind. When your space is disorganized, it constantly reminds you of what's unfinished, what's broken, what's neglected. You may not even notice the drain it creates, but it weighs on your energy and focus. By establishing order in your environment, you send your nervous system the signal that not everything is falling apart, that stability is possible. This sense of stability does not have to come all at once. It grows as you maintain each small improvement. Routine is another powerful tool in this process. When stress or tragedy hits, your sense of time can dissolve. Days blend together, and without a structure, it's easy to drift into unhealthy patterns, staying up too late, skipping meals, isolating yourself. Introducing a daily routine brings back a rhythm to life. It might begin with something as simple as waking up at a consistent hour, setting aside time to move your body, or dedicating a few minutes each day to planning tomorrow. The goal is not perfection but consistency. Each repeated action reinforces the idea that you are capable of building order deliberately rather than living at the mercy of disorder. There is also a deeper symbolic meaning in taking these small steps. If you can create order in your own room, you can create order in your own mind. If you can bring structure to your own life, you can begin to face the larger, more complex challenges outside of it. The small victories train you for bigger battles. This is why starting small is not a sign of weakness. It is the most effective way to rebuild. It teaches you that progress is a series of manageable actions, not a single leap. Over time, these steps compound. The room you organized stays clean. The routines you establish become habits. The habits strengthen your discipline. The discipline increases your capacity to take on more responsibility. And with each layer of order you create, the chaos that once felt suffocating begins to retreat, replaced by a growing sense that life, though difficult, can be shaped into something steady and purposeful. When pain strikes, the first impulse is often to seek relief as quickly as possible. That might mean turning to distractions, numbing agents, or anything that temporarily dulls the sharpness of suffering. While these measures can provide short-term comfort, they rarely address the deeper wound. Once the distraction fades, the pain resurfaces, sometimes stronger than before. This cycle leaves a person feeling stuck, chasing momentary escapes, while the real problem remains untouched. The alternative is more difficult, but infinitely more rewarding: to seek meaning rather than mere relief. Meaning doesn't erase pain, but it transforms it into something you can carry without being crushed by it. Meaning begins with asking yourself why enduring this hardship might matter. The answer is rarely obvious in the beginning, especially when emotions are raw and circumstances feel unjust. But if you can search for a reason beyond the suffering itself, a reason rooted in growth, responsibility, or a cause greater than yourself, you start to change the way you experience the pain. The suffering becomes part of a story that leads somewhere, rather than an endless, purposeless wait. That shift is crucial because humans can tolerate a tremendous amount of hardship when they believe it serves a purpose. It's important to understand that meaning does not arrive fully formed. You build it, piece by piece, often in the smallest actions. It might come from caring for someone else despite your own struggles, from creating something in the midst of destruction, or from pursuing a goal that feels worth the effort. Even something as simple as committing to improve one aspect of your life each day can be a source of meaning. Over time, these acts form a bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Another aspect of meaning is that it provides direction. Stress and tragedy can leave you feeling lost, unsure of which way to go or why you should keep moving at all. Without a sense of direction, your energy disperses and every challenge feels heavier. But when you align your actions with something you value deeply, every step forward feels intentional. The difficulties remain, but they no longer feel like a meaningless punishment. They become part of the price you are willing to pay for something worthwhile. Seeking meaning also fosters resilience. When your actions are tied to a purpose, setbacks do not have the same power to break you. They may slow you down or force you to change tactics, but they do not convince you to quit. In fact, the pursuit of meaning often gives you more strength than you realize you possess, because it roots you in something greater than immediate comfort. Comfort fades, meaning endures. And when you choose meaning over mere relief, you not only survive your hardships but also emerge from them with a sense of having lived through something that mattered. When confronted with stress and tragedy, it can be tempting to throw yourself entirely into helping others as a way of escaping your own pain. On the surface, this seems noble. You distract yourself from your suffering by focusing on the needs of someone else, convincing yourself that if you can make their situation better, yours will somehow feel lighter. While there is value in service and compassion, there is also a danger in neglecting your own stability. If you are weak, exhausted, and emotionally unstable, your ability to genuinely help others is compromised. You cannot pull someone out of the water if you are drowning yourself. Before you can be a steady hand for someone else, you must first ensure you have your own footing. Strengthening yourself before helping others is not selfish, it is necessary. Think of it as building a foundation. If your own life is in disorder, the emotional weight of another person's struggles can collapse what little stability you have. But if you've taken the time to put your own mind, body, and routines in order, you are far better equipped to offer support that is sustainable rather than fleeting. It is easy to give a burst of help in the moment, but sustaining that help over the long term requires strength that comes from within. This process begins with being honest about your own limitations. Many people overestimate how much they can handle because they don't want to appear weak or selfish. But acknowledging that you need rest, healing, and time is not a flaw. It's a form of wisdom. When you strengthen yourself first, you ensure that your compassion is backed by stability, not desperation. That means caring for your health, creating order in your daily life, and dealing with your own emotional wounds rather than burying them under the weight of someone else's. It also means setting boundaries. Helping others does not mean saying yes to everything they ask or sacrificing every part of yourself to meet their needs. Healthy boundaries ensure that your energy is used in a way that truly benefits both you and them. Without those boundaries, you risk burning out, becoming resentful, or even enabling destructive patterns. Boundaries are not barriers to compassion. They are the structure that allows compassion to thrive. Once you have built your own resilience, the help you give becomes far more impactful. You are not simply reacting to crises, you are approaching them from a place of calm, clarity, and strength. The people you assist will feel that difference. They will sense that you are not there to fill your own emptiness, but to offer genuine support rooted in stability. In the long run, this approach not only benefits those around you, but also reinforces your own sense of purpose, creating a cycle where your strength feeds your ability to help, and your ability to help strengthens your sense of meaning. Speaking the truth, especially in times of stress and tragedy, can feel like standing in the middle of a storm without shelter. There is always the temptation to soften the reality, to tell yourself or others what is easier to hear rather than what is real. This avoidance might seem harmless at first, a small protection against the harshness of the moment, but unspoken truths have a way of festering. They grow in the shadows, twisting your perception and making the situation more confusing than it already is. When you refuse to face the truth, you end up living in a distorted version of reality, and no real progress can be made in a world built on distortion. Speaking truth is not about being harsh or cruel. It is about clearing away the fog so that the path forward becomes visible. Telling the truth starts with yourself. It is possible to lie to others, but the most dangerous lies are the ones you tell yourself. You can convince yourself that you are fine when you are falling apart, that the problem is smaller than it is, or that someone else is entirely to blame for what you are going through. These lies might numb the sting of reality for a short while, but they also keep you from taking the steps necessary to improve the situation. Admitting the truth to yourself, no matter how uncomfortable, forces you to see things as they are, which is the only place from which genuine action can begin. Once you are honest with yourself, you can extend that truth to others. This does not mean unloading every raw thought or emotion without consideration, but it does mean expressing the reality of your circumstances in a way that is clear and direct. When you share the truth, you invite others to respond to the real problem, not a fabricated version of it. This honesty can be uncomfortable, as it might reveal mistakes, weaknesses, or vulnerabilities, but it also opens the door to authentic connection and genuine help. The act of speaking truth also acts as a shield against resentment. When you keep quiet about what is real, frustration builds silently. Over time, it turns into bitterness, and bitterness poisons both you and your relationships. By speaking up, you release that pressure before it corrodes your ability to think clearly or care for others. In times of hardship, the truth can feel like a heavy burden, but carrying it openly is far lighter than dragging the weight of lies. Lies multiply, truth clarifies, lies close you in, truth opens a way forward. And while truth may not make the pain vanish, it ensures that the steps you take are grounded in reality, not illusion. giving you the best chance of navigating the tragedy with clarity, dignity, and the possibility of genuine recovery. Life is built on a foundation that includes suffering. No one escapes it, no matter how carefully they plan or how hard they try to avoid it. Illness comes, loss arrives, mistakes are made, accidents happen, and time moves forward regardless of your readiness. Accepting that suffering is an unavoidable part of existence is not the same as welcoming it, and it certainly does not mean resigning yourself to despair. It means acknowledging the reality that pain is woven into the human experience, and then deciding that you will rise above it rather than be broken by it. When suffering arrives, the first reaction is often resistance. You may think, this shouldn't be happening, or I can't handle this. That resistance, while natural, often makes the pain worse because it adds a layer of frustration and disbelief to what you are already feeling. Acceptance removes that extra weight. By accepting that hardship is part of the deal, you stop wasting energy on wishing it away and instead direct your attention toward finding ways to endure, adapt, and move forward. This acceptance is not passive. It is the beginning of a strategic response to life's difficulties. Rising above suffering requires a conscious choice to grow stronger through it. You cannot always control the events that cause pain, but you can control the way you respond to them. Each hardship presents an opportunity to develop resilience, courage, and wisdom, qualities that cannot be gained in a life free from challenge. This does not make the pain desirable, but it does make it meaningful. When you choose to face suffering as a test of your character, you shift the focus from what has been taken from you to what can be built within you. It also helps to recognize that suffering connects you to others. Everyone you meet has endured pain, even if their version looks different from yours. This shared reality creates a kind of unspoken bond between people. When you rise above your own struggles, you not only strengthen yourself, but also become a source of hope and guidance for those still in the depths of their own trials. Your example becomes proof that it is possible to survive and even grow through hardship. Rising above suffering is not a single moment of triumph, but a continuous process. Some days you may feel strong, others you may feel knocked down again, and that is part of the journey. The key is to keep moving, even if the steps are small. Over time, the very experiences that once threatened to overwhelm you can become the foundation of your strength. By enduring with courage and refusing to give in to despair, you prove to yourself that while suffering is inevitable, it does not have the final word on who you are or what your life can become. In the end, stress and tragedy are not just obstacles but defining moments that shape who you become. By facing reality, taking responsibility, creating order, seeking meaning, building your own strength, speaking the truth, and accepting suffering as part of life, you transform hardship into a catalyst for growth, emerging not weaker, but wiser and more resilient than before.